Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another Monday Morning Art Talk. I'm Steven Silver, character designer and teacher, dedicated to helping you learn about the art industry and living up to your potential. Whippy! Alright, so today's art talk is about royalties and pricing and how should you go about pricing. This is a very important thing. It's based on a recommendation that I got from someone who was asking, can I talk about this? And so I encourage you guys at all, if you ever have things that you'd like me to discuss that I haven't discussed already. I know I have a lot of videos, so I may have discussed some things already. But feel free just to ask the questions in the link below. You can just as you're watching this, or you can direct message me through Instagram, which is at StevenSilver7. And ask the question, why not? And see if I respond. I'll always respond, but if it's a good topic, I'll respond to it. So here I wanted just to talk about the topic about royalties. So the question was, should I ask if I'm going to be working on a project, should I be trying to get royalties over and asking for royalty payment over just getting my weekly check sort of thing or whatever that amount's going to be? In the studio system, it's going to be very hard. It's something that you're not going to get hired by a studio. And when you get hired as a character designer, most likely it's more in the character design realm where the royalty basis usually comes. You know, unfortunately, if you're just doing, say, storyboards or you're just doing color or things like that, it's usually not a practice to get royalties based on that, because it's really sort of hard to determine. So this would be more of a character design discussion, because the character design is the IP. It is the franchise. It's what people are taking that image and they're putting it on hats and they put it on shirts and they put it on mugs and they put it on pins and they do everything. So the character design is the franchise. You're really, as a character designer, a franchise designer. That's what you're doing when you're developing characters for different shows. So if it's not your own show, if you haven't pitched the show to the network and sold it and gone through that, then a lot of times you're just never going to see royalties. If you've pitched the show and it's yours and you're an executive producer and these other elements happen, you got a good lawyer, you work things out, well, then you can maybe see a piece of the merchandise and everything else where you want to work out a royalty deal. Why wouldn't you? It's got to be a win-win situation. And these are things that creators should be aware of and think about. Why should you sell your IP to someone else to make millions of dollars, even though they're doing the distribution and they're putting the money in and other things like that? It's still, they're making money because of you. So this is where you're going to try to work something out. But can you go into a studio, Warner Brothers, Disney, Nickelodeon, Pixar, as just being hired as a character designer and say, nah, I don't necessarily want, you don't have to pay me so much, but I want a piece of the back end, I want royalties. You will get laughed out of the room. They're going to go, no, it's not happening. Would that be awesome? Absolutely. Could it someday change? Maybe. Who knows? It'll take a lot of fighting on many fronts to make something like that happen. But just because it's difficult doesn't make it impossible. That's my belief. So that's something I would say in the studio basis. Now, if you're working with individuals, now when it gets into the licensing aspect, this taps into a whole nother aspect. Say I go to the licensing expo and I meet someone, or someone approaches me and they have this idea and they come to you and they say, hey man, I got this great idea. And this is all about a bunch of squirrels. And these squirrels they're like ninja squirrels, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Squirrels, all right? So we got Teenage Mutant Ninja Squirrels, and we just have the concept, but we need you to design it. And with Teenage Mutant Ninja Squirrels, we're going to just make merchandise, and we're going to create just a lot of different things from it. They make all these big promises and you go, that's terrific. Well, what I can do for you is I'll charge you less up front, but there's going to be a contract. I'm going to charge you less for my time, but what I want at the end is a percentage of the royalty. So you're trying to work out, and it can usually be anywhere between 5 to 10% of what you're always wanting is the net. Okay, there's a gross and a net, and the gross is the full total. You want the gross. What you're wanting is ideally the gross. The gross is the full amount. So if I'm selling something for $10, I'm getting 5 to 10% off the $10. If I'm doing it off the net, I'm getting 5 to 10% off the net, which means after all the expenses that have been paid out. Just think about it like an actual fishing net, where you stick everything in there, but all the, a fish, but all the stuff, leaks through the net, all the extra little parts, and you're just left with the main fish or whatever is in the net. But you've lost all the other little ingredients and all the other little things that are there. And that's the expenses that people are going to pay. So if a company they're paying interns, or they're paying for coffee, and they're paying for their copy supplies, and they're paying for gas, and they're paying for their lodging, and they're paying for all this stuff, that's going to be the net. So the net from the $10 can eventually maybe only be about $2. So now you're getting 5 to 10% off of only $2 as opposed to 10. So when you always want to try to work a percentage off of the gross amount. So that would be an option. Again, if it's an outside company coming in, it could be XYZ, whoever it is. You meet someone at the licensing expo, you're contacted through email. A company that's not a giant company like Warner Brothers or something like that is trying to, hire you to develop an IP. That's when you have every right in the world to try to ask for a royalty basis. Now, what I would not encourage you to do is do all the work for a company to come up to you and say, hey, we want to create Teenage Mutant Ninja Squirrels, and it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be great, and we can offer you a royalty. So what we need you to do is develop the characters, design this. We we're sharing this, and if it gets off the ground and we sell it, well, then you're going to get your percentage and your royalty. And what if you put in 50, 60, 100, 200, 300 hours, and nothing happens. It falls apart. They go broke. All this other stuff happens. They can never meet the right people, make the wrong contacts. They don't get their stuff in front of the right people. It never becomes anything. And now you got absolutely nothing. There are no royalties. There's nothing. So why you always want to say, listen, I don't mind doing a royalty deal, but I need to get charged. Maybe my hourly rate could be anywhere between $55 and $100 an hour. Maybe you start to say, listen, I'm going to do it for $30 an hour with a percentage of royalties. So at least you're getting paid money up front, and at least you're not going to feel it a full-time loss. And you want to make sure in your contract that you own the rights to the characters, okay? That you have ownership in those characters, so you can, if they do nothing with it and it falls apart, well then maybe you can do something with it. Maybe you can turn it into your own little comic, or maybe you can, maybe that's not going to happen because they'll say, hey, we created this, we wrote it, but at least gives you the right to post it and share it, and you've been putting in, do whatever you want to do at that facet, but now you get to actually have some of that ownership towards it. So that's going to be a very important thing to make sure that you have. But ideally, I would always encourage you to, whoever you're working with, to try to get money up front, at least 50% up front in the beginning, especially whatever sort of deal it is, because people are going to make promises to you and they're not going to come through, and they'll say, yeah, we'll pay you at the end. So no, I want my 50% up front, and then when I'm finished with it, then you'll give me the other 50%. And that's something that's going to be very important for you to put out there and let them know. And don't be afraid to ask for this stuff. I've seen way too many people get screwed, and I get emails from people who are getting screwed all the time. So we don't want this. This is not an industry of getting screwed. We want to get paid. We have value. We deserve this. We have a right. Okay, so that's what I would encourage you to do if you're thinking about wanting to get some sort of royalty. Make sure that it's in writing. Make sure that's written out. Don't go into a deal where people are making promises to you that there'll be a royalty and that you're going to get paid once something starts happening. It could be years before that happens. And never, ever, ever, unless you truly believe in these people or they're friends of yours or something else, never get bamboozled for anyone who comes up to you and says, I got an idea and it's going to be awesome and I want you to do the work and development for it and I'm going to pitch it to the studios. And if the studios, once they pick it up, then you're going to be part of it. There is no guarantee that you're going to be part of anything. Because most studios have their own designers, their own artists, different writers. There's no guarantee that you're going to be brought on as the designer. They may say, yeah, we love your idea, but this character designer or the background designs or whatever it is, it's not that exciting. We don't really like it. We need to hire someone else. And all of a sudden, hey man, I'm sorry. The studio, they just didn't really like your stuff, and I'm sorry that it didn't work out, but thanks so much for all your time and effort that you put into it. Another reason why you want to get paid up front, unless you're working on something with some friends, and this becomes what's called, you're putting in the sweat equity, where you're looking, the equity you're putting in is to hope to reap the rewards at the end of the day and just earn the money, right? So eventually you'll earn it, but you're doing it together as friends. I'm collaborating right now with some friends, and there's 3 of us, there's 4 of us, and it's sweat equity. We got the writer, we're drawing, we're putting together this pitch packet. No one's earning any money right now. We're not getting paid a dime, and our goal is to pitch it to the studios, and if the studios are interested in it, and they want to see it, and they want to hear about it, and they pick it up, well, that's when we reap the rewards. They'll option it. A studio will option it. They'll develop it. And then if it turns into something, we'll all get a position. We'll get a title. And we'll reap the rewards at the end of the day. And that's how it sort of works. So my suggestion is to you, again, don't go in trying to, like, say, work out a royalty, especially in a major studio. So that's a big thing just to keep in mind, all right? I'm trying to just think what else is. I'm just kind of sitting here that I could tap into. My brain is working 1,000 miles an hour. I'm trying to think of something to say again in regards to the pricing aspect. If you're trying to get into the studio, what I want to really develop for the union, for our union, for the local animation union, but it's not just going to be for the union. I want this to be for artists worldwide. I want this, we need to connect. And what it needs to be, I want to develop a platform for artists across the board, but it's going to be through the Animation Guild that's going to show prices of what you should be earning at these studios, and especially with all the streaming coming up and all this competition and all the content that's needed, to where everyone has an understanding of what you should be making on a weekly basis. I've mentioned in previous videos important things to make sure that you have or know and you're aware of, and that is, number one, know what an hourly rate is that you charge. That's going to be important. What is your hourly rate? If someone asked you, hey, I'd like to hire you, what's your hourly rate? You want to know what your day rate is. What is going to be your daily rate? Usually your daily rate will reflect your hourly rate. So if I'm charging $100 an hour and I work 8-hour days, my day rate's going to be $800 an hour. If my hourly rate is $55 an hour times 8, what is that, like $400 or something dollars a day? So you're working those out, and then you get that weekly rate and you tie it into the weekly rate too. Ideally, what you want to do is get as much. I always ask for more because people are going to come back asking for less. If you can, try to work out a weekly rate if you're going to be doing development, so you can try to at least work out a weekly rate so you know what you're going to be getting, whether it's between, $1,800 a week to $2,500 a week if you can, well, whatever it may be. Again, it's all going to vary, and the studios are also different, but it's important just to be across the board, and we all know what an average is of what we're getting. So most artists in the animation industry are averaging roughly about $52 to $55 an hour on average. That will transition to about, $2,100 to $2,300 a week. Depends on what it is that they're doing. Again, there's $1,900 a week, $2,000 a week, but it's a ballpark. We're not working on a $700 a week, $700 a week. And I know some countries and some studios and some people are non-union studios, and then they're getting paid really oftentimes not livable wages. And something that we have in our union contract, which we need to enforce more, which now that I'm a board member and a trustee of a local animation guild, I got on, so I'm in. And I want to, what's going to be important is just the understanding within our contract that we're entitled to 3% raise, through the year. So as we're working, it's important for all artists to know when you're getting into the union that you're entitled to 3% raise as things keep moving and on a yearly raise. And it's something that I got to dig into more and research more, but really getting these things out to start to live up the cost of wages. When you're living in California, it gets expensive out here to live. So we need to make sure that people are going to be protected, and that again, the amount of money that's being used is important. And it's sick to me, the amount of money that just gets wasted in this industry, and especially at the top echelon. I was talking to a buddy who's working in live action. It's the same thing that happens in animation. You got the budgets. The budgets are set on these productions. So you're going to have a production, and they're going to say, okay, we're going to work on this production, and we're going to give you, the budget is maybe, it could be $800,000 up to $1.5 million per episode, per se, right? That's going to be the budget that we have for this episode. That's the budget, and that's got to cover all the artists, the animation, or again, live action, the cameraman, the grips, the crew, all this, that's your budget. And if you go over budget, well, then you're in trouble. And we're going to come down on you and just beat up on you and everything else. And it's going to be the worst thing that can happen. But then you got the other budgets, which are going on with the executives on the higher echelon. And their budget way exceeds all that amount of money. And there is so much waste, so much freaking waste going on. It's sickening. It's sickening the amount of money that they have, that some of these people in this upper echelon are wasting to, I remember when I was at a Nickelodeon, and one guy that was there who was on the top, he spent like $5,000 on a couch. And they spend money on, hey, we need to go and do a research trip to, to Paris. And now but I need to bring these people along, and they're really messing around, and they're just making a trip out of it, so they get that budget. Otherwise, they get a food budget, and you're allowed to spend up to this much money for just food and entertainment and going, and it could be as high as $20,000 or $30,000 on this is their budget. And it's not just like a monthly thing, it's just like that's your exceeded limit. So when you're turning in all your money, of your budget, well, this is what I took people out and I needed to entertain them, and we ended up spending $15,000. Okay, well, as long as you came in under your gap of $15,000, we're going to get that. So all this excess money, even though the artists and the creators and the directors and all these people are getting screwed on, like, your budget is this is why we can't pay you more. You guys are just going to be getting paid less. That's what you get. That's all you got. Meanwhile, all this wasteful money on the top, it is disgusting. And there should be a criminal investigation on the top of what's going on. And anyone who's a shareholder in these companies should be informed of how much waste is going on the top from there, and just where we can make things better. So can you imagine if we were able to hire more artists, and we were able to just put a little bit more money into the budgets and increase that and make a product even better instead of all this other money. It's crazy what's going on. It's disgusting. But you know, what can we do? What can we do? We can speak up about it. We can say something about it, but it's just for you to be aware of what's going on. And listen, I've gone on to a little rant here and a little sidetrack from what I kind of really wanted to talk about in regards to getting the royalties. Just try to get paid. That's the bottom line. That's my message, is make sure you're getting paid. Make sure you're getting money up front where you can get money up front. When you're working for a legitimate studio, the big boys, the big studios, you don't need to worry about getting paid up front so much. Again, any big studio, you're going to get money from them. Any people you're skeptical about, research, see if they've been written up on the Better Business Bureau, see if there's been other complaints about them, learn about them, and then gives you an idea of where to go, because I've like been offered stuff by many different people that find me through LinkedIn or they find me through wherever, and they contact me just trying to have me, you know, do something, and I've done research on them and go, whoa, look at these bad reports, and then I don't even contact the people anymore. Otherwise, I say, hey, no problem, and then I try to tell them this is what I want, and I want the money up front, and then, of course, I don't hear from them ever again. So you have to do your due diligence. Don't just get so excited and just jump right into a deal with someone. Make sure they're legit. People are gonna bamboozle you. People are gonna make promises to you. People are gonna promise you the stars and tell you how great things are gonna be. And I understand, especially if you're a beginning artist and this is your first gig, you're gonna get excited. But this is what contracts are for. So make sure that things are in writing. So if someone's I was just talking to an artist recently through my mentorship program that I do on Tuesdays, and she said to me that she's working on this project and they've offered her this deal. They gave her money up front, but it was for a specific job doing animation. But now they want her to do character design and all this other stuff. Well, you can do that too, right? You're an animator. And so not only on top of the traditional animation and giving her this deadline, they want her to do the character design, and they're not going to pay her more. The reality is, I've encouraged her, you need to just speak up and say that this isn't in your wheelhouse. This is not what you were hired to do. This is not what you're under contract to do. You'll be more than happy to do it, but we need to make an amendment to the contract. We need to add something to this and let them know that, listen, we got a contract. So people are going to give you contracts. And also, if someone gives you a contract and has you sign an NDA saying, hey, you know, you can't talk about this, you can't share all the Bible and the information I'm going to give you, and you get that from them, you sign it, you do the job for them, and they don't pay you, hey, all deals are off, man. I would email them back and say, I'm just going to inform you, because you choose not to pay me, I am going to be sharing the Bible and all the content that you have given me all over my social platforms and internet. Sorry that you didn't uphold your end of the bargain. I'm not upholding mine. And in a court of law, just like they never paid me. That was the deal. The deal was, and look at my emails, they promised, they said they were going to pay me this amount. And because they didn't, well, then this is why I'm posting it. This is why I had to do it. So it'll hold up in that sense of a court of law. But just always be careful. Again, you want to go in, make sure you're working with the right people. Make sure you research people. Don't try to get sometimes so excited. I know it can be exciting in the beginning as you're trying to get these jobs, but just be aware of these things. Anyway, I hope this information has helped you and guided you. Please share. The more you share this, the more we can just get more knowledge out to more people and artists around this planet. I think it's very important information. That way people just don't get lost. There's a lot of lost souls out there and people wondering, how do I navigate through this? And you can help them by helping share the message that I'm just trying to put out there too. All right, so thanks a lot. Make it a great week, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Take care. To subscribe to my mailing list and stay updated on future workshops and events, please go to my contact at silvertunes.com and simply hit join mailing list. Until the next time, make it a great week, and thank you for listening.